there was a bear and a rabbit, and they were in the jungle. And the bear says to the rabbit, yo, when you shit, does the shit stick to your fur? The rabbit goes, no. So the bear wipes his ass with the rabbit. Passion is important because it gives you a sense of purpose. When you completely understand who you are and you understand that you're good at something and that you enjoy doing it, and it just comes so naturally, that is such a beautiful thing. Unfortunately, not enough people even know what they're passionate about. Some people are in their 30s and 40s and still trying to find what they're passionate about. So I think that the people that are young and creative and that have been able to find what they're passionate about should jump on the horse, because we're blessed. My passion came to me by accident. I wasn't even looking for my passion. When I was about 15, 16 years old, I used to get into a lot of trouble, and I had this officer who I had to go and sign in with once a week, and he had to check me out and make sure that I wasn't getting in trouble, wasn't hanging around with those kids. And I remember once he drove me to Glenwaverley, to Kingsway in Glenwaverley. And he goes, look, you're getting in so much trouble lately. I need you to go and find a part-time job here. Go and find a part-time job. And he drove me to Glenwaverley, Kingsway. At that time, it was just full of Chinese restaurants. And I didn't want to work in a Chinese restaurant, but I saw this hair salon. It had funky music going on. I could smell the coffee. I saw a bunch of girls in there. I was like, done, I'll go work in there. And luckily I picked that place because in that place was the place where I found my passion. I say to people all the time, I say, I never worked a day in my life. People say, how long have you been cutting hair for? I say 16 years, but I never worked a day. You know, and some of them giggle because they don't get it, because they do jobs that they hate. But there's a chosen few that they're like, man, I love that, you know, I appreciate that. When I was like in year 8, year 9, I remember whenever we had like family functions and these aunties and uncles would come over. Obviously they're from India, so they come from a place where education is key and what you're studying and what you're going to be is a big deal. That's the topic of conversation. And all these aunties and uncles would ask me, and keep in mind, they'd ask this 15-year-old with like nose rings and green hair and this and that, you know what I mean? They'd be like, what are you going to do with yourself? And I'd be like, I'm going to be in IT. I'm going to work in IT. That was bullshit, man. I've never planned on working on IT. But I had an epiphany one day, like, what have I been talking about? What have I been saying? I don't want to do that. I want to chase something in art or fashion or architecture or, you know, I had all these other things that I was interested in, but I was dumbing them down in front of this Indian community because I didn't want to upset anybody, because their expectations of me was to be a doctor or an IT or a dentist or something along those lines, something academic. But that's just not what I was into. One day I just had enough. I was like, you know what? I've accepted who I am. It doesn't really matter if anybody accepts who I am. Like, this is me. This is what I'm going to do. So I better like start now. I'm going to start being me now, proper, and make way for me, because I'm going to make waves. It's not until your parents see you either work for yourself or you're making good money, or like once they start seeing little accolades like that, that's when the respect will probably start growing. But until then, you really have to earn your stripes with Asian parents like ours, you know. I say it how it is, and you know what? If you don't like me, for example, I would much rather you tell me that you don't like me than to pretend and go along with me and not be yourself, because I'll work that out too. But I'd respect you more. I can respect you and, you know, not like you, but I can respect you at the same time. Like, we don't have to be friends, but if you don't want to be my friend, say it, speak up. Life's too short, man. I'm not going to waste my breath and pretend. I don't do that for nobody. Man, that's even the same in the streets, man. When you meet people, some people talk, like real people recognize real people. You can see straight through it. I remember when we were kids, we used to call them Fugazis. Fugazi is a mafia word for a fake person. he's a talker or he's an actor. So like I remember being with a bunch of the homies and getting introduced to some new guy who's like all yap, I'm about it. But we would all just mumble amongst ourselves like, nah, this Fugazi right here, you know what I mean? He's not one of us. When I was younger and I was learning my craft, I didn't completely understand how to speak to people. Certain little ethics and principles that go a long way with your fellow human being. I had to study the art of conversation and kind of control the conversation. When people sit down in my chair, they're self-reflective. They're looking in the mirror for 30 minutes. So they're going to want to talk about a lot of different things that's going on in their life, and they're going to share with me. And they might include me, and it's my job to always pull the focus back to them because they're looking at themselves in the mirror. And this is them being sort of rebirthed, you could say, because they're getting a haircut, they're going to be feeling fresh, they're going to look different, they're going to feel different. So I try to keep the topic of conversation always on them. I think health is success. I think being healthy is one of the most successful things that you can try to maintain. It's not necessarily attainable because it could be taken from you at any time. So it's something you have to maintain. So 5:30 a.m. wake-ups, in the gym, cardio, early night sleeping, good diet. That's a little portion of what I classify success. It's our jobs as parents to guide them and also give them as much knowledge as we can to prepare them for the world that they're walking into. So different things like recognizing their emotions, learning what humility is, learning what being humble is, being respectful, being honest, looking people in their eyes, meaning what you say, and also understanding that no one's going to help you except for you. You have to believe in yourself and you have to get yourself there, you know? There'll be people cheering you, there'll be people hating on you, but you have to work hard and fight for it. If you see what you want, you got to go get it. There's no easy way around it. And don't cry when you don't get it, because the only person who stopped you from achieving what you wanted to achieve is you. And the world is full of options. Your options are endless. So as a parent, it's our jobs to give them that platform and make them understand these very simple things. A lot of people like buy shoes or wear clothes for other people, not for themselves. It's like tattoos, man. A lot of people these days get tattooed because like, look how it looks. You know what I mean? Like for fashion wise, you know? I'm not from that gen. None of my tattoos for anybody else other than me. I think my tattoos are more memory-based tattoos. So like in the time, in the place in my mind where I was mentally in that stage of my life and I got that tattoo, that reminds me of that time in my life. So if I'm feeling some type of way and I just feel like going to get a tattoo and I've seen something that I like, I'll go and get it. Memorabilia, man. It's like a photo album for me. I have Rafiki from The Lion King on my calf. It's actually one of my favorite tattoos. Just because I love everything that guy stands for. Like he's like the all-seeing and wise guy that has all the wisdom and is willing to give the advice, and he's not really taken that seriously, but he knows exactly what's going on. He's like the old man that like laughs at you. You know what I mean? Like, like your grandpa's generation. You like talking about something and your dad might say to you, that's really stupid, but your grandpa will just laugh. It's because he's got enough wisdom and age on him to be like, you're going to grow out of that soon. But your dad's too close to your age, so he'd be like, that's stupid, why you like that? So that's what I take out of Rafiki. I like Rafiki. Student of hip hop, product of Melbourne, citizen of Earth. I am a student of hip hop. Hip hop has taught me so much, and hip hop is my number one genre. And I'm a hip hop junkie, hip hop head, you know this. And it's shaped me, and it's raised me, and it's influenced me, and it's the culture that me and you and so many of people that we know in our community that have adopted. And when I say that, I don't mean like we're Bloods and Crips. I mean like, you know, just the way we hold ourselves and the way, the slang that we've adopted, and the, you know, the power that hip hop has, that how it's influenced all of us in our generation. And a lot of the great hip hop heads have taught me so much over the years, different ways of looking at the world. Yeah, they're very knowledgeable characters. So I've taken a lot from hip hop. And then a product of Melbourne. I don't know if you know, but I got this tattoo here. It's the Melbourne city skyline. There's a big street sign here that says Melbourne. And this is where I was born and raised. My parents' roots are in India, but my roots are here in Melbourne, and I feel very close to my city. I'm very proud to be from Melbourne. I love my city. Look, I'm very well traveled. I love a lot of tiny little places around the world, but Melbourne is my home. Melbourne's where I feel most comfortable. And in a lot of ways, Melbourne culture has raised me as well. And then lastly, it was Citizen of Earth. I say Citizen of Earth because I always kind of felt a little different compared to everybody else. And you know, when I met my wife and I fell in love with her, I told her, me and you are just different. We're like aliens. We're not actually from here, you know? And now with my daughters, I tell them all the time, like, you guys are aliens, you know that, right? Like, don't tell anybody at kinder. But you guys are aliens because we're your parents and we're aliens and you're aliens. We're not from here. We just moved here. It kind of gives them this like little superpower or this little special secretiveness that they're like, ooh, you know what I mean? Like, we're different. A month before my firstborn was born, I made a little promise to myself and to my unborn child that I'm not going to smoke when you're born. And she was born and I didn't stop smoking because I was like, she's a baby, she doesn't know what the hell I said. And I remember I was changing her nappy one day and she looked at me in the eyes and her eyes said something to me. Her eyes looked at me like, you promised you would stop smoking when I was born. She was just a 1 month old or something. And man, it caught me off guard. I was like, whoa. So that's been sitting in the back of my head this whole time. I was like, I'm done with it. Finish with it. I think I was mentally prepping myself. I would love to encourage everyone at some point in their lives to learn the 12 jewels of life. And the 12 jewels of life are knowledge, wisdom, understanding, freedom, justice, equality, food, clothing, shelter, love, peace, and happiness. Peace.